Tonight, on Legislative Review, we take a look at what's coming up in the legislature. And sexual assault in college campuses. Plus, proposed legislation that could change where juvenile offenders serve time. From Olympia, this is Legislative Review. Welcome and thanks for watching Legislative Review. I'm Angela Nolasco.
The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted.
February 3rd marks week 4 of the 2025 legislative session. It's the fourth week out of 6 at the start of the session when House and Senate policy committees hold public hearings on hundreds of bills covering a myriad of topics. On Monday, a Senate committee hears several bills aimed at Green Hill School, the state's juvenile detention facility located in Chehalis. Also Monday, Governor Bob Ferguson's request bill to offer free school meals to all public school students. Tuesday, we'll see bills to help people struggling with medical debt and increase the availability of treatment for obesity. Wednesday, a bill to require liability insurance for gun owners and a proposal to limit how many homes large investors can buy in Washington state. Thursday, a bill to gather information on livestock methane emissions. That means cow manure and its impact on the environment. And on Friday, bills dealing with Medicare Advantage plans will be heard in committee.
I will start by inviting Senator Orwell to the front and open the hearing on Senate Bill 5355.
Members of the Senate Higher Education and Workforce Committee convened Monday, February 3rd to discuss a bill concerning sexual assault in college campuses. Senate Bill 5355 would require public colleges and universities to offer more support for survivors of sexual assault, such as trauma-informed training for staff, mental health services, and the right for survivors to request safety measures like campus security and class schedule changes. It also aims to speed up investigations for sexual misconduct cases, capping it at 6 months, and bans the use of non-disclosure agreements that keep survivors from speaking out. If passed, schools would be required to provide in-person training for students and staff on sexual violence prevention. And in 2027, every student ID would include a 24/7 sexual assault hotline for survivors. Supporters say it would educate students about consent, make campuses safer, reduce the chances for survivors to develop PTSD, and give them more rights and protections. Democratic Prime Sponsor Tina Orwell said this was brought to her attention by students from Western Washington University, Washington State University, and the University of Washington.
25% of all students and of women and 13% of all students experience sexual assault or rape during post-secondary institution. We heard from a number of students that they didn't know where to get resources. They didn't feel like they had those at their fingertips. I had one survivor reach out to me who told me when she called, she got an appointment a week later. That should never happen. You know, these are like life horrible experiences. She was encouraged to mediate with the perpetrator, and she ended up really feeling alone. Even in the hearing, she had no representation next to her, whereas the offender did. This is about having the right tools around training. It's about having access to resources, and it's about a partnership between higher ed and our community-based organization.
The bill's proponents, like the Washington Student Association, said it would reinforce and clarify Title IX, a federal law prohibiting sex discrimination in education settings.
The Seattle Times reported in 2022 that in a 5-year period, there had been 2,500 reports of sexual misconduct at our 4-year public institutions. These were also only the cases reported. Many go unreported, as is common with sexual assault. We appreciate that this bill establishes in-person trainings on prevention and faculty for relevant student groups, and another essential need is speedier Title IX processes so that we address these in a timely manner and do not wait until somebody graduates or transfers to another campus.
Also speaking in favor of the bill, campus sexual misconduct survivor Zoe Maston.
I was sexually harassed and assaulted by a professor on campus. When I reported it, I was pressured into signing a disclosure agreement to open an investigation. The process took a toll on my mental health, leading to suicidal thoughts. I was asked to be put into therapy and was waitlisted for over a month. Throughout the investigation, I received conflicting information from Title IX staff who were clearly untrained and uncoordinated. I was threatened with expulsion for speaking out by Title IX staff. Meanwhile, the professor left the university in the middle of an investigation to teach at another university. My case was closed with the university claiming my experience was not severe enough to take action. This is the reality many survivors face, feeling silenced, unsupported, and ultimately discarded. I urge this committee to support Senate Bill 5355 and work to create a safer, more responsive environment for all students.
No one testified to oppose Senate Bill 5355. If enacted, it would take effect within 90 days of being passed.
Good afternoon. Now we're going to start this Human Services Committee.
A new bill in Olympia could change where young offenders serve their time. Senate Bill 5260 proposes to give older juveniles in custody the choice to move into the adult prison system sooner rather than waiting until age 25 or meeting specific safety criteria. If they make the request, they get 3 days to rethink it, and then they must be transferred within 10 days, no hearings required. Proponents say it would streamline the transfer process and give older juveniles more control over where they serve their time. However, critics worry about safety and rehabilitation. In a public hearing held by the Senate Human Services Committee, Republican Senator John Braun, one of the bill's sponsors, cited his observations of overpopulation at Green Hill Juvenile Detention Facility in Chehalis.
Frankly, we're not delivering on our promise. Our promise was to deliver rehabilitative services to these folks, and we are failing in large part because of the overpopulation at Green Hill. It's overcrowded by anywhere from 50 to 70 residents at any one time, and something we need to deal with. And that's what this bill does. It allows different avenues for the agency to make, reasoned decisions about where they could move folks to deal with overpopulation.
Senator Braun mentioned a change he wanted to apply to the bill, also known as a proposed substitute, citing current concerns about sexual offenses, which he said should be treated separately.
This is an important issue. We need to deal with this issue. It's creating an unsafe situation for the residents. It's creating probably tens of $millions in tort liability for the state, frankly, and it's very complicated. But it's probably too complicated to deal with in this bill. So it's in the future substitute that I have.
The proposed substitute to the bill, Senate Bill 5278, would allow for a mandatory transfer for serious misconduct, such as sexual offenses. For instance, if a juvenile assaults staff or engages in inappropriate sexual behavior while in the facility, they'll automatically be transferred to an adult prison. The proposed substitute would also change how hearings work when deciding whether a juvenile should be transferred from a juvenile facility to the adult system. Speaking in favor of the bill, James McMahon of the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs cited an event where he believed a pause in the intake process of juvenile rehabilitation, or JR, has negatively impacted community safety.
When that intake freeze happened, it made a bad problem worse in our communities. We already struggle, frankly, to find an appropriate place to confine a young person who has shown to be a danger to our communities. Let's not forget that young people go to JR only for the worst kind of crimes that young people commit. When the Department of Corrections and or JR, when those systems fail, public safety is jeopardized in our communities.
Testifying against the bill, Team Child, a nonprofit for at-risk youth, urged the committee to oppose the bill, saying minors will be harmed if subjected to adult facilities.
Kids' brains are fundamentally different. Young people should be in their communities receiving the support, treatment, education, and love that they need, but when our state determines that they should be incarcerated, that incarceration should take place at a juvenile facility until they are 25 years old.
The Department of Children, Youth, and Families also testified to share their recommendations for the bill, specifically for youth offenders between the ages of 21 and 23.
There is an opportunity here for DOC and DCYF in partnership with DOC to be really clear and intentional in future planning with young people about all the less restrictive options that may exist to them across both of our continuums. For the juvenile sentenced population, most of them are with us their entire duration. For the adult sentenced population who have that post-25 sentence, Green Hill is often the only opportunity in the continuum, whereas in the DOC's place, in the DOC continuum, there might be other options for least restrictive or less restrictive alternatives. So we offered some language in hopes to sort of look at a more intentional and thoughtful process with young people in future planning for that.
During the hearing, the committee also reviewed proposed legislation concerning community placement opportunities for juvenile offenders.
That's a wrap for us tonight. Stay with us throughout the legislative session, where we bring you all the top debates right here on Legislative Review. We'll see you tomorrow.